On January 8, 2024, Xi Jinping addressed the third plenary session of the 20th CCP Central Commission for Discipline Inspection. He called on the party to be fully aware of new developments in the fight against corruption, as well as breeding grounds and conditions for corruption, as he urged targeted and sustained efforts to win the battle. He called for severe punishment for collusions between political and business circles, strengthened disposal of corruption in such areas as finance, state-owned enterprises, energy, medicine, and infrastructure construction, and prevention of power abuse. Prior to this, the People's Liberation Army Daily, the CCP's military-run newspaper, declared in an editorial on January 1, 2024, that it would fight a solid, protracted battle against corruption and fortify the People's Army's purity and glory, to ensure that the barrel of the gun is always in the hands of the people who are loyal and reliable to the party. This is also signaling that more purges may follow. As China's military enters 2024, it is making a major push to wage a war on corruption. What is the trigger for this? We think a Bloomberg report from January 6, 2024 provided the answer. The report, citing people familiar with the matter, said that U.S. intelligence showed that China's inferior missiles and the poor quality of its essential military equipment had prompted the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, to purge its military. Sources said that corruption within the CCP's rocket forces and the entire National Defense Industrial Base was rampant. One of the sources said that the U.S. intelligence assessment cited several examples of corruption in the Chinese military, including the use of water instead of fuel in missiles, but the report didn't specify the type or model of the missiles. In other words, the missiles should have been filled with aviation fuel, but because of the corruption of the officers and soldiers, water was injected instead. Why was water injected into the missiles? The Bloomberg report failed to explain, but according to a Chinese political commentator, the missile fuel is corrosive. The PLA needs to clean the missiles after drills, a process that's tedious and costly, so replacing them with water saves both time and money. The budget for expensive aviation fuel is then pocketed by individuals. We can't verify this claim, but it's offered for your information. The Bloomberg report also mentions an important detail. There are multiple missile silos in western China, but the silo covers are functionally defective and don't operate in a way that would allow missiles to launch efficiently. According to the U.S. Department of Defense's 2023 report on China's military power, China built 3 missile sites within its borders, estimated to be equipped with a total of at least 300 silos for launching solid-fueled intercontinental ballistic missiles. The Washington Post and the New York Times, among others, also reported in 2021 that China was building hundreds of nuclear silos in the West. This seems to indicate that China is expanding its nuclear weapons capability. No one knew if all these silos would actually be filled with missiles when they were completed, but some U.S. military experts believe that these new silos did put pressure on the U.S. and could even trigger a new arms race. Now a report from Bloomberg may come as a relief. The report says that Pentagon spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Martin Mainers and the Defense Department's annual China report discuss Beijing's efforts to strengthen and accelerate its military's anti-corruption investigations, but didn't provide any further details. The news sparked concerns. Dennis Wilder, a former China analyst at the Central Intelligence Agency, wrote on social media platform X, "This assessment has profound implications for PLA readiness and overall capabilities. Nuclear ICBMs intended to protect the nation from the greatest threat cannot be launched. What do you do with 300 new silos that are construction nightmares? Xi is still in charge, but this has to be damaging to his seemingly supreme power." The CCP has set a goal of transforming its military into a modern force by 2027 and invested billions of dollars in the effort. At the center of this is the rocket force, which is expected to play a key role in operations against Taiwan or the South China Sea. Reunification of Taiwan is said to be Communist Party leader Xi Jinping's biggest dream, based on his personal nationalist sentiments. It's also considered one of his most powerful cards where he can gain significant prestige and consolidate his power. On the last day of 2023, New Year's Eve, Xi announced his determination to the world.
祖国统一是历史必然，两岸同胞要携手同心，共享民族复兴的伟大荣光。
What we want to point out is that the people of Taiwan should not be intimidated. The current situation in the rocket force shows that the corruption in the Chinese military is enough to give Xi a headache for quite some time. In other words, the Chinese military won't be ready in the short term. Since last year and up until now, the CCP has been carrying out a sweeping purge of the PLA, especially the rocket force. There has been speculation that the Communist Party leader may have realized that there was something wrong with the rocket force's equipment or deployment, and then turned his wrath on his troops. Let's take a look at our coverage from 5 months ago. The rocket force is known as the CCP's trump card and is the strategic force in charge of nuclear-armed intercontinental missiles. But now Xi is forced to purge the top brass of the force. Earlier, it was mentioned that the rocket force commander was suddenly taken away from his office. On July 28th, a report in the South China Morning Post verified the news. The report said that the Discipline Inspection Commission, the anti-corruption body of the CCP's military commission, and its audit office have been investigating the rocket force commander, its deputy commander, and the former deputy commander. There has been no official announcement of any investigation into the three, but they are believed to have been taken away by investigators. We speculate that Xi Jinping may have discovered the problems with the rocket force much earlier. If one looks back to August 2022, the U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi was leading a delegation to visit Taiwan. She was the second Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives to visit Taiwan during her term of office since the U.S. broke off diplomatic relations with the Republic of China, ROC, in 1979, and the first member of the federal government's ruling party to do so. Since the Speaker of the House of Representatives is second only to the Vice President in order of succession to the U.S. presidency, Pelosi was also the most senior federal official to visit Taiwan since the Taiwan Travel Act came into effect. The CCP was apparently annoyed. After Pelosi's departure on August 4, 2022, the PLA began large-scale military drills around Taiwan. China's state-run television, CCTV, also claimed that the drills might turn into actual combat at any time. But strangely enough, the military drills, which were planned for several days, ended in a hurry, only a few hours on the first day. What happened? Let's take a look at the video footage. However, after Pelosi left Taiwan, the PLA only test-fired 11 short-range Dongfeng 15 missiles on the afternoon of August 4th. The flight data of the missiles launched by the PLA, released by the Ministry of Defense of Japan, showed that the shortest distance the missiles flew was around 350 kilometers and the longest 700 kilometers. This data is in line with the parameters of the Dongfeng 15 missile. The Dongfeng 15 is a short-range surface-to-surface missile and has no ability to strike at sea. In other words, these missiles have absolutely no intention of targeting the US. So, who is the CCP mainly targeting? First of all, of course, Taiwan. At the same time, for some reason, it has also taken on Japan. According to the Japanese Defense Ministry's official website, the CCP launched 9 ballistic missiles in quick succession on August 4th, 5 of which landed in Japan's Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ, and 4 of which flew over Taiwan's main island. The Japanese government said it was the first time a missile had landed in these waters, and that the EEZ, which lies outside Japan's territorial waters, is free for international ships to pass. China launched 9 ballistic missiles from around 3 p.m. to shortly after 4 p.m. today. 5 of them are estimated to have fallen within Japan's exclusive economic zone. We reckon that this is the first time to have Chinese missiles fall within Japan's EEZ. We strongly condemn this action as it causes great concerns to the security of our country and the safety of our people. We have protested strongly against China through diplomatic channels. Yes, surprisingly, 5 of the 9 CCP ballistic missiles landed in Japan's Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ. It is highly likely that these 9 missiles were originally targeted in Taiwan, but due to poor quality, they landed in Japan. This could be the reason the military drill was rushed to an end, and the military drill force knew that they had exposed themselves to a big problem. Another possibility is that the progress of the Russia-Ukraine war has taken Xi by surprise, prompting him to focus on the corruption of his own military. To Xi, this war is like a mirror for the war in the Taiwan Strait. There are indications that the Russian side has been affected by corruption in the areas of operations, maintenance, supplies, and training of soldiers, which has severely diminished its combat effectiveness. As early as 2014, CCP military researchers called corruption the #1 killer that weakens the military's ability to fight. However, Xi Jinping didn't realize that the corruption in the military would be so grave. Yao Chen, a former officer at the Chinese Naval Command, told Radio Free Asia that the military's misuse of equipment funds was particularly bad, with fuel for expensive missiles even being used by PLA officers and soldiers to make hot pot. He said, "When we cooked in the military, we extracted fuel out of the airplane fuel tanks. The aviation fuel was used for cooking. When it burned, the flames were green and there was no smell at all. What was even more stunning was when we ate hot pot in the military, we used the solid fuel inside the missiles for cooking. We took it out piece by piece from the missile and used it to cook hot pot because the military didn't keep up with supplies. I often went to the armory to ask for this solid little round piece of fuel. When we wanted to cook hot pot, we used a piece of it." Yao Chen said the solid fuel meant for propelling rockets and ballistic missiles through the air was expensive. However, when military units lacked logistical supplies, they resorted to it for cooking or exchanged it for favors. This former staff officer of the Chinese Naval Command posted on X on January 6, 2024. The Rocket Force's comprehensive inspection and overhaul uncovered a plethora of problems, including some rockets with liquid fuel being found to have water in them. Strategic missile silos have been left unmaintained for years, causing the covers to be unable to open. And more importantly, information leaks are still ongoing, with this inspection report actually being obtained by the US as well. I have verified through my friends in China that these 2 problems do exist. Yao Chen mentioned the problem of leaks within the PLA. Indeed, how else could the US military obtain the above information without the intelligence provided by insiders? After connecting these dots, it's not difficult to understand the CCP military purge that started in 2023. The Rocket Force, the Strategic Support Forces, the Equipment Development Department, and even the National Defense have become the hardest hit areas. Their top brass was taken out in virtually one fell swoop. On December 25, 2023, the Central Military Commission of the CCP held a ceremony for the promotion of generals. 2023 saw 4 such ceremonies where new generals were promoted, the highest number of promotions since 1988, when the rank system was restored to the Chinese military. Why did Xi promote so many generals? Because too many generals have fallen from grace throughout the year. In the past 6 months, the Communist Party's Military Corruption Investigation Department has arrested more than a dozen senior generals. And on December 29, 2023, 9 senior military officers were removed from their duties as deputies to the National People's Congress. It was considered the most visible sign of bloodletting within the Communist Party's military. Most of the fallen officials served in the Rocket Force, including the 2 former commanders of the Rocket Force, the former Chief of Staff and Deputy Commander of the Rocket Force, the former Chief of the Equipment Department of the Rocket Force, as well as the former Deputy Commander of the Rocket Force and later Deputy Chief of Staff of the Joint Staff Department of the Central Military Commission. 3 other Military Industrial Corporation executives were also removed from their membership at the CPPCC. the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. These include the former president of the National University of Defense Technology and vice minister of the Central Military Commission's Equipment Development Department, the former vice minister of the Central Military Commission's Equipment Development Department, the former head of the South Sea Fleet's Equipment Department, and the deputy commander of the Southern Theater of Operations, as well as the commander of the Navy of the Southern Theater of Operations. In addition, there was the former commander of the Air Force. These 9 were officially announced dismissals of military generals. The CCP military doesn't usually publicize corruption investigations within the military. But according to Chinese media reports, another major general of the rocket force was removed as a deputy to the Beijing Municipal People's Congress in November 2023. This series of purges followed the removal of China's former defense minister Li Shangfu in October 2023. Li served as the Minister of Equipment Development of the Central Military Commission in 2017. He took office as Defense Minister in March 2023. He disappeared from public life on August 29, 2023, until he was announced to be removed from his positions as a State Councillor and Minister of National Defense on October 24, 2023, after only 7 months on the job. The removal of this wave of generals at the end of 2023 was seen by outsiders as to have confirmed previous rumors that the dismissal of Li Shangfu was due to a corruption ring case. China's defense minister position was thus left vacant for 2 months. It wasn't until December 29, 2023 that Dong Juin, who had stepped down as commander of the Navy, was appointed Minister of National Defense. He is the first Navy-born defense minister. Xi's first ever appointment of Navy Admiral as defense minister signals his hope that 62-year-old Dong Juin will help better manage maritime tensions with the US in the South China Sea and Taiwan Strait. So, will the CCP's massive military anti-corruption campaign succeed? Hardly. In fact, since reorganizing the military in 2015, Xi Jinping has promoted a number of top executives in the aerospace and defense industry. Former Defense Minister Li Shangfu had a long career in aerospace engineering before moving to the General Armament Department. It can be seen that the rocket force is expected to play a key role in Xi's ambition to unify Taiwan by force. In addition, at the 20th CCP Congress in 2022, Xi planned 3 people from the military-industrial system to be promoted to the 24-member Politburo of the CCP Central Committee, its highest decision-making body. It reflected his preference for the military-industrial sector. But the fact that these same military chiefs, senior officers, and senior executives in the military industry who were promoted by Xi himself have failed to withstand scrutiny underscores Xi's difficulty in purging corruption from the military, and the reliability of the military industry's top brass is now being called into question. We previously reported on the trial of a senior CCP official who was said to be the father of China's aircraft carriers. On December 26, 2023, the Shanghai Municipal People's Court publicly sentenced Hu Wenming, the commander-in-chief of China's first domestically built aircraft carrier, the Shandong, and former chairman of the China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation, CSIC. The court ruled that during his 20 years in office, he received bribes of about US $8.4 million. This number is much smaller than the information revealed by insiders. He was sentenced to 13 years in prison and fined 10 million yuan for taking bribes and abuse of power as an employee of a state-owned company. However, the sentence handed down by the Shanghai Intermediate Court made no mention of leaks, which had been widely rumored before. Hu Wenming served successively as Deputy General Manager of China Aviation Industry Corporation, Deputy General Manager of China National Weapons Industry Corporation, and Chairman of China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation, with a resume that covers the equipment manufacturing companies of the Navy, Army, and Air Force. These companies are among the CCP's top 10 military enterprises. According to official CCP reports, Hu Wenming was a key contributor to the development of the CCP's J-10 submarines and the C-919 domestic airplane, and he was also the commander-in-chief of the development of the CCP's first domestically produced aircraft carrier, the Shandong carrier. He was dubbed the father of the aircraft carrier by the Chinese government. The sentencing of this father of aircraft carriers has drawn attention to the quality of China's aircraft carriers and other military equipment. Chinese netizens questioned, can the aircraft carriers built by an individual like this be trusted? If we go back even further in time, in the first decade of Xi Jinping's coming to power, he arrested many people within the military and replaced them with his own people. By 2023, Xi, who has already amassed a great deal of power, realizes that he hasn't found any trustworthy people. So he arrested another group of people. That is to say, earning Xi's trust is based on one's loyalty and ability to help him realize his dream of unifying Taiwan. Speaking honestly, it's impossible to ban corruption in China. With the rule of law and democracy, it's possible to expose it in time and keep it under check. It may be eradicated given the surveillance of free media and independent trials by the courts. However, under a totalitarian system, absolute power leads to absolute corruption. Fighting corruption will only make those corrupted officials more careful, resulting in even more insidious practices. In other words, corruption has become the culture of the CCP military, and it's difficult to reverse.
我宣布，中国将裁减军队员额30万。